right now what we have all these people that are getting into these relationships without really knowing, like, what am I doing with this relationship? Where am I going with my life?
How do you contrast intentional conscious dating with the standard mainstream way of moving through the dating world?
In terms of the world of dating and choosing partnership, what we have to know is, who am I in this moment? What am I here to give to the world? And what would I like in terms of the kind of partner that I bring into my life?
What we've got is people who don't know what they want, they don't know where they're going, and they get into relationships.
I want to create something with my life that involves a partner that really wants to create a conscious relationship.
It's a beautiful challenge. Welcome to the Authentic Man podcast. I am your host, David Chambers. This is a podcast for men who want more and less from life. More deep connection, more emotional intelligence, more self-awareness, and more great sex. And less heartache, less conflict, less overthinking, and less stress. Creating dating lives, sex lives, and relationships that are incredible and authentic. My deepest goal is that you, the listener, can take away what you hear in this podcast and apply it to your life so that you can experience greater happiness, transformational growth, deeper relationships, and profound sexual intimacy. I believe that as men, we are capable of so much more depth than we are shown or led to believe. So join me as we get deep into this. Welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Man podcast, but you know that because you just listened to the intro. Today, I have a fantastic episode of a wonderful man who I met last year. Well, I actually come across Max, I guess, before. He's a men's work teacher. He does all sorts of wonderful things, not just men's work and helping men with relationships and dating and intimacy. I know he's also a musician and a photographer, so he's a disciplinarian, I think we call that. And in this episode, we start off really talking about intentional dating, like how men can set themselves up for intentional dating. What are the skills? What are the capacities? How do we need to show up? What are the questions we need to be asking ourselves, first of all, and also the questions we need to be asking the women we want. Some of the most important questions, actually, we really touch on. We also touch on like a strategy for dating apps. Like, what's a really kind of intentional strategy for dating apps? As well as we start to weave in, like, why do we struggle in relationship? Like, what are the wounds and how can we heal those? And then we talk also plenty about like creating conscious relationship and how we can show up to create the deepest intimacy, the wildest play, and all the juicy stuff that we really want. And we touch on some stuff about an emotional work for men and why that's so vital for us men to do this emotional work so that we can have the life we want, so we can have the relationship we want. And yeah, man, we duck and weave and dive through a lot of different bits and pieces, a lot of bits and pieces. So I hope you enjoy this episode. If you're listening to this and, you know, I should still have some space left on my program, my Being Authentic Masculine Man. That's coming up at the 21st of February. So, you know, if you fancy diving into, you know, this sort of deep work that helps you kind of move through and starts to, you know, get clarity on your life, clarity on the sort of relationship you want, clarity in the skills that you need to show up in relationship to create that, then, you know, hit me up. The link's in the show notes to register your interest, or you can just drop me an email. It's all there. But I'll let you jump into the episode. Hello, listeners. I'm back with a wonderful guest, a man who I've had the privilege of meeting in person. You know how rare it is these days to meet people like actually in the flesh and blood and smell them and touch them and feel them sweat against you when you hug each other when you're topless in a very large old music hall. I had the pleasure of spending a lot of time with this man during a 6-month period last year in a program with John Wyland. Today I have with me Max. How you doing, Max?
Yeah, I'm doing great, brother. It's nice to be here with you. Yeah,
man, it's a pleasure to hear your very deep voice.
Oh, here it is.
So I love to start actually is with like what magic it is you bring to the world, and what was your journey to bring that magic, that word into the world?
What a great question. The magic. I think if I was to really look at what do I hope the magic is that's running through me at this point in my life, it's just there's a bit of awakening, just like how can I shake the world up and say like, listen, like we need to pay attention. We need to pay attention to our lives. We need to pay attention to what we're doing. And so I think a little bit is just throwing a spark in the mix of just like, hey, pay attention. Like that's part of the magic. But the other thing that, in my personal practice, I've really been feeling into this thing. I have a lot going on in my life. I've got a wife, I've got kids, I've got a business I'm building. I work with John. I do a couple different things outside of that. And one of the biggest things is just really, surrendering and relaxing into knowing like, okay, I'm here to crush it and all will be as it should be. And just allowing life to just unfold beautifully, and so just staying on point, staying on practice and allowing life to just emerge. And so the magic would be really just, it's like a gift to myself, which is just like, we're good, life's good. And then from that place, I get to go, and here's where we are. How can I steward this world forward? So I think that's part of it. But then there's this other piece that I just want to drop. I think part of the magic that's inherent in me is I find life to be absurd. I think it's crazy. For so much of my life, I was in the muck of it. I was just stressed. It was dark. It was hard. And then I reclaimed access to joy. And ever since I started experiencing joy in my life, I just started to realize like, this is fucking like ridiculous. Like we're just like bobbling along on a spaceship in outer space, like hurling around the sun. It's fucking crazy. And then everything that we get into on Earth, it's just bizarre. And so part of the magic would just be the joy and the hilarity of life. I don't take things I take things seriously and then not at all. You know what I mean? So just being a little bit more of a conduit of like, let's enjoy the ride. It's fucking hilarious. So yeah, awakening and joy and humor. Maybe that's the magic.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's something that's really missing in the world for people, is like that joy, like seeing, as you described there, the hilarity of everything. Like, I find myself sometimes, I was saying before we jumped on, I go for walks on the beach in the morning and I see these people walking animals by the sea. And I just think, how crazy, like people walk animals. These animals could just do it themselves. They could move around freely, but the animals in some way choose to be walked by humans. Or is it that the humans or the dogs are the dogs really walking the humans?
Yeah. See that you're making a grand assumption if you think that the animals are being walked by the humans. It could be the other way around. And and there's also this funny thing. Like I'll narrate people like in my mind. If I see something, like I'll imagine that I like know what they're doing and saying, and you can like narrate what the dog is like complaining about. Like, yeah, Jim, this fucking walk, man. Like, this is the same one we do every day. I hate this walk. The ocean smells. I hate the sand in my paws. Like, you are a dick. Can we just walk on you know what I mean? Like, imagine thinking that in your mind when you're walking and you see this dog. And it's like, that's what I'm talking about. Just like being present to like, what's a possibility that's just hilarious right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you see the dog like pulling away, trying to like move in the opposite direction. And the person's trying to keep them on track. Yeah.
You can judge everybody's leadership by the way they hold the dog. It's like, you fucking shit leadership, bro.
What's the leadership tip for walking dogs?
Well, first of all, know what a dog needs in terms of safety. Like any dog that doesn't feel safe with you will rise and become the alpha. And like, if you can't fucking have like, safety in your bones, that dog is going to be like, what the hell? It's the same as the feminine. You know what I mean? So like, number one tip is if you're going to get a dog, understand that you need to lead that dog from your way of being, and you need to have some skills around training that dog so it can surrender into your leadership. Otherwise, it's just going to pull, it's going to fight, it's going to bark at everybody because it thinks that it's in charge and it needs to provide safety. So when you look at, dog ownership through the lens of, it's not about like alpha male. It's just more like there is a hierarchy in nature, and inherently that will exist in the family unit when you have animals. I've been thinking a lot about this because I want to get a dog. My kids want a small dog. Drives me crazy. I want a big dog. I'm like a fucking wolf kind of guy. Like get a big thing that's like almost dangerous. And if you get a dog like that, you really have to know like, okay, this is what the dog needs from me. This is what the dog needs to be expressed fully in its energetic way. And having that awareness. It's funny. I'm not a dog trainer, but I just kind of know. I've had dogs, and I've had dogs that had kind of weird issues that I had to work with and learn how to work with. And part of it was just training myself and how I am around that animal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like bringing consistency to your way of being,
Yeah.
so the dog sees you as trustable and reliable.
Yeah. And ironically, this is the exact same conversation if we're talking about how to raise kids, how to be a good man in a relationship. It's all the same. Not to say that like I'm not sure. I'm not going to, let's just back up right here. I was about to say, like, not to say my wife's like a dog. She's not a dog. She's my wife. She's beautiful, but we're working with the world in the same sort of way. Am I safe? Is my leadership trustable? Am I capable in leading the people that I'm here to lead through the skills and awareness that I need to cultivate to do it well? That's the deepest conversation about dogs I've ever had. This is great.
I once met a dog trainer many years ago at a dating event. And he was basically like, he's moving into coaching men because he was like, there's not really much difference between coaching men and training dogs. And I was like, really? He's like, he's already put it to the work. He's like, a lot of it is exactly what you said, like a consistency, a calmness, and ease. Like, also, he said, there's a lot about reward.
Exactly.
There's a lot about reward.
Yeah, totally. That's 100% it. And you know this. We've like you and I have spent time really studying in the realm of energetics and nervous system, right? And as much as we want to believe that as human beings we're special, we're still primal beings. And the primal arrangement of life is actually pretty simple. You're either safe or you're not. And if you're not safe, you're either in fight or flight or you're in conscious leadership. That's how you recover from unsafety. And so when you work in the animal world with any animals, no matter what they are, I mean, except for birds don't seem to give a fuck who you are and what you're doing. But aside from that, like animals really do need to kind of have the same degree of leadership, and it's interesting that he went from training dogs to training men, but that's cool. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I'd go the other way. I would go from training men to training dogs. Like when my deepest compelling vision for myself is that I'm going to retire on the hills of a mountain and I'm just going to have a pack of dogs that I train, breed, sell. I don't know. That's kind of what I want to do when I'm 80.
Nice. So, that's a beautiful vision.
Yeah.
Beautiful vision.
We'll get there one day at a time. One dog at a time.
One step at a time. And I'm wondering how we're going to relate the animals and dogs into talking about like dating and intentional dating, but maybe I won't sit on that for too long.
Yeah. Oh, we could probably do it. Yeah. I mean, when you choose anything in life, relationship, when you're choosing relationship, you need to choose right relationship. So, I mean, actually there's a great segue. And for all the listeners, David wanted to bring me on to talk about dating. So here's how we're going to slide this one. So if you're getting a dog, you want to choose the right dog for the lifestyle that you have and for the kind of life that you want to have. So if you live in a home, like let's say you live in a city and you're in an apartment and you mostly work online or you work in a corporate place, you don't want to get a dog that's conditioned and made to be a herding dog, in like a 1,000-acre farm in Scotland. Like you don't want a dog that wants to run miles every single day. You need a dog that sits right for your circumstance. And in terms of the world of dating and choosing partnership, what we have to know is, who am I in this moment? What am I here to give to the world? And what would I like in terms of the kind of partner that I bring into my life to fit within my lifestyle or to be a partner in creating a lifestyle that is the next moment for me in life? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so it's really about like right choice and discernship. Like, am I choosing right for the life I'm here to create? That's the thing. And that is 100% the foundation of conscious dating.
And this is the thing that we see in today's society, right? Is that people aren't really dating consciously. We're playing dating out on a kind of pre-programmed script or out of fight or flight, fight or flight of not getting what we want. How do you contrast intentional conscious dating with the standard mainstream way of moving through the dating world?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that I'll say here is that you're right. There is this sort of standard way of dating. And I was really fortunate because I've had a couple different experiences of, dating throughout my life. And I've been able to kind of look at it through different frames. But this is why I'm lucky. I divorced my ex-wife. And in that moment, I knew, okay, I want to create something with my life that involves a partner that really wants to create a conscious relationship. I want to feel loved. I want to feel supported. I want to give my love to somebody. And so what I was able to do is I was able to say, okay, but first, let me pause everything. And, in the John Wineland world, we talk about cleanses and kind of taking a break from dating for a period of time to sort of sort out the energetics that are operating. I didn't know that term at the time, but I took 6 months off. So I filed for divorce. I moved into an Airstream on my brother's property, and I took 6 months. I did nothing. I didn't date. I worked the bare minimum. I just kind of pulled out of a savings account to kind of just ride out this moment. And I really focused on just surrendering into the moment that I was in. So there was a grief process there. And I don't want to get too much into this, but here's why I'm saying this. What I was able to do is I was able to really reset and go, okay, who am I in this world? Like, what am I here to create with my life? And secondly, what do I want from a relationship? What do I want from a partner? What am I looking for? And at that time, I was reading a lot of books on, conscious relationships and how to do relationships from a deeper place. And so I really got clear. I want to find a partner who's willing to do a deeper type of relating with me and kind of learn how to do it and work it, conscious dialogues, conscious repair, a higher level of connection within intimacy, both emotional intimacy and sexual intimacy. And, so I had that clarity, and I formed that outside of the dating cycle because I was in this grieving period. So I was grieving the end of my relationship. I was grieving the identity loss that came after the end of a marriage. And then I was kind of getting curious. Okay, what would I do if I was looking? And so I really think that one of the things, for anybody that's listening, that's sort of in this process of like 25 years of dating or 20 years of dating or whatever, like, I don't know what your age range is on the podcast. What if you paused? What if you took a pause on this dating cycle? You took 3 or 4 months off and you just did something for yourself to kind of explore, like, what does it mean to be me? Maybe you do something that's like at your edge. Like maybe you hike a mountain that you've wanted to hike, or maybe you get on a boat and go on a cruise on the Nile or something really interesting, like something that kind of just awakens you into like, okay, I'm living my life right now. Like, what do I want to do with this life? And then from that place, go, okay, well, what do I want from a partnership? Because right now, what we have is we have all these people that are getting into these relationships without any consciousness and without really knowing, like, what am I doing with this relationship? Where am I going with my life? And eventually what happens is these relationships kind of implode because there's no real conscious stewardship. Like the man doesn't know what he's doing with his life and what he wants this relationship to evolve toward. The woman might have some inherent desires for the relationship, but she can't get the man to lead her there. And she can't certainly lead him there because he's just in his train tracks of life. And so we have this thing where people are like, they're doing their best and they're like, yeah, I think this is going to work. But there's no real rooted leadership like, okay, this is what I'm here to create. I want to create this kind of relationship. Are you a yes? You're a yes? Cool, let's go. And then setting the structure, moving toward that potential. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's the thing I think that really is needed. Like anyone that's just in the like unconscious dating world, take a pause. Go do something exceptional with your life. Go like, and don't go to Bali. I'm saying like, do something that's really cool. That's like edgy. You know what I mean? No offense. Yeah. I don't know if you go to Bali all the time, but everyone's doing these kind of trips that are ultimately really feminine. Like, I'm just going to go like, yeah, whatever. Like, nah, I'm saying like, do something that really challenges your identity, like who you are. Maybe you do a marathon or like I have a guy in my men's circle who's doing like a marathon in Africa. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Like that'll really teach him about himself. You know what I mean? 50 something miles. It's like a real big deal. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. So here it's like, what we've got is people who, they don't know what they want. They don't know where they're going.
Yeah.
And they get into relationships. And, something I see is that because, like you said, there's a man who is lost to a certain degree. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know where he's going. And he doesn't know that he doesn't know who he is.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
He's with a woman who knows some idea of what she wants and what she desires and what she feels and what she wants, right? She might want children. She might want something. Yeah. But she's playing out the role of not really feeling like she can express what she wants. Or on the flip side, she's saying it and it's like landing on like a brick wall. He's not hearing it. He's just like, nagging. Yeah,
and
exactly. Like you said, relationships implode or they don't go anywhere because these two people keep meeting the same people in this dating process.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one thing that you really just spoke toward, there's a lot of men that like they think they're doing the best that they can do. They've got the job and they're showing up the best they can in relationship, and they don't realize that there's a way to elevate the quality of their relational dynamic. And so she starts to say like, I want more. And he's like, I don't know what you want. Like, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm doing my best. And it's like, well, there are relationship skills that I think people really need to learn. There's some basic things around how you show up in the moment, like energetically. My wife wants to know like I'm here and that I'm present. She wants to feel me. And that's a daily thing. That's like a throughout the day, every single day kind of thing. And so when I talk to men who are just kind of new into the fold of this idea, they're like, how often am I supposed to do this? And I'm like, this is about how you exist as a man. This is about like how you look at her on the way out the door. This is about what you text her at 10:30 in the morning, instead of just like, hey, send me a to-do list of things I need to do for you. It's like, hey, baby, I love you. Like, that goes a long way. Thinking about you. I want you, and like doing that frequently. And then also like how you put your hands on her, how you look at her, pausing. My wife the other day, I'll give you a really good example of this. I was in the kitchen. She ran into the kitchen to grab something and she was running out. And I just said, hey, and she turned back and I didn't say anything else. I just said, I just wanted to see you. And then she just melted and she was like, oh, and she ran up to me and gave me a hug and she's like, I love you so much. And that's such a small moment. But usually what we do is, she'd come into the kitchen, she'd grab something, she'd run back out and we would just be in our unconsciousness. And so what I really teach is like, there are skills in the energetic realm that elevate the felt experience of relationship. And if there's a man that's listening that's like, I don't know what these women want, well, learn some basic relationship skills. Learn, how to awaken her through her body. Learn how to awaken her through your presence, through your eyes, through your desire. These are all things that are easy to learn. I mean, they're not that hard. It takes a little bit of time to really get it into our nervous systems. But once you can learn these things, it's like now you can activate into a higher level of passion, intimacy, emotional connection, and life gets easier, Life is far easier when I can serve my wife beautifully because then I don't have a nagging wife. Like I have a wife that's just excited to be in love with me. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have a partner who looks forward to seeing you, looks forward to talking to you, was playful, is open, I don't want to use the word easy because it's not necessarily easy. It's more that it's like it's a beautiful challenge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's not easy in the sense that relationships are like you're playing a sport, like you're on the court playing the sport. So there's that inherent, like there's the work to do to figure out how to be good at the sport. But it is actually easier. Like I know that we're good. Like I can feel her. I know that she feels good. She feels excited. And I know how to repair when we're feeling disconnected. So it's not that difficult. The tax of a relationship that's not functioning well, that's a daily tax. And you'll just feel it in your bones because you'll feel unfulfilled and you'll feel like something's not working. I don't know how to fix it. That is a horrendous life to live. But when we can live in the life of, I know what's up. I know we're off right now and I know what we need to do to recover. Like that's empowered and it does make life easier for sure.
And it doesn't leave two people who are like, when things are not going well and both of them feel it, but no one really says anything. No one tries to do anything. And before you know it, it's months and it's years of the relationship. And I'm sure you get men come to you because I get men come to me like this and they're like, I don't know what's going wrong. Like we don't have sex anymore. We barely talk and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? So have you spoken about this? And they're like, no, nope. We haven't had a conversation. I'm like, what?
Yeah, like have you? So that's the first thing.
So this big elephant in your house and neither of you are speaking about it. I'm like, she's probably waiting for you to say, hey, like I've seen this and I want to change this to this. This is what we really like. And I was like, just simply saying that will light her the fuck up.
Exactly. Yeah. If you bring the awareness of like, baby, we feel off. Like, what do we need to do? That alone is going to have her go, oh, yes, thank you for saying it. Like I've been feeling it and I just didn't know what was going on. Like, what's up? Is everything okay? And also when we're not communicating our awareness that things are off, both people are going to start making up stories like, oh, she doesn't love me anymore. I talked to a guy recently. He was like, I think she's having an affair. And I was like, why do you think that? And like, we kind of got into it and I was like, there's no evidence that she's doing this. Have you like, just talk to her, like ask her how she's doing, like what's up? And he talked to her and it turned out that she had a fear around her. Like her father had some sickness that was like coming back again. And she was kind of in the muck of being scared and fearful for an extended period of time. And it's like, we make up stories when we're disconnected. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what do you see as some of the kind of misconceptions around this, the concept of like intentional conscious dating and conscious relationships?
That it's hard. That's the biggest misconception. It's not hard. I have a friend who often says like conscious relationships are hard, but they call you to do the deep work. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but that doesn't mean it's hard. Like what's really hard is a relationship that sucks, that's not conscious, where you're not having sex and where you just don't feel valued. That's hard. You know what I mean? So I think the biggest misconception would be once you learn some basic skills around how to serve your partner and how to evoke love and evoke desire and passion, it's incredibly easy. So there's kind of this initial bell curve of hardship, but then it's like, okay, now I know how to work a relationship. What else? I think, I don't, that's a really good question. I'm not really sure. People don't usually come to me with this idea of like misconceptions. Like, I think one of the things is just unawareness. That's one of the biggest things. I think people just don't realize that there's a way of relating inside relationships that's far different from our normal,
Yeah.
Like, I want to propose a frame here. It wasn't that long ago that World War I, World War II, these things happened, right? And so all these men went off to these big global conflicts, and they came back, and they, quite a few of them had some degree of PTSD. We know what it is now. We didn't know what it was then. We only knew what the extreme cases were, and we called it like shell shock or something. But so there's a lot of men that came back from war that just were disembodied and sort of in their own thing. Those men had children. That's the boomer generation. So a lot of the boomer generation kind of grew up without a lot of masculine energetics. Like there's not a lot of good, solid leadership because a lot of these men were checked out. So people like my dad, this is like, actually, it's funny. I never really thought about my own father, but my dad had a father who was checked out. So my dad never learned how to show up as a man, turned on, invigorated, stoked about life. And so my dad kind of had he was like energetically castrated due to like a lack of knowing. So my dad was a good guy. He grew up, he created a solid business, but he didn't know how to evoke passion, love, excitement in relationships. So I was born from that. And so I think the big misconception is almost more just a lack of awareness. Like there is a way of being in relationship that's alive, that's alive. Like I can feel it when my wife texts me. I'm just like, yeah, I love this woman. Like she lights me up. It's in my body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, she'll send me a text like, baby, I want you. And I'm like, oh, great. All right. I just got to get through 7 hours of meetings and then she's mine. You know what I mean? Like that's a way of feeling about relationships. And people are missing out on this. Like most people are missing out on it,
Yeah. Most people's misconception is like relationships are like a drag, or you hear men talk about, some of the phrases like the ball and chain is a standard one in the UK, right? It's that this relationships is hard, but the inside of the kind of conscious relation, the misconception, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that men don't want them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a misconception. I think it's not that men don't want them. They just don't know that it's a thing. And the ball and chain, man, what an occurring world. Like to feel like a relationship is always going to keep you imprisoned. What I'll say for that, I feel more liberated and free knowing I have a solid relationship than I've ever felt in my life. I don't have to chase women. I don't have to chase momentary, like getting my needs met in weird ways. Like I have a wife who's committed to meeting me at my needs and wants and desires, and I meet her at hers, and I'm just free. So I'm free and able to just live my full expression as a man. I'm crushing it in my businesses. I'm showing up with you on this. I just feel good in life. And it's because my relationship's dialed in. I have no ball and chain. Sure, there's some certain things I wouldn't do because I'm married. Like I'm not going to go to Burning Man and hook up with a bunch of people, or I'm not trying to just date around or do weird things. But honestly, dating for me, I didn't enjoy the process of dating. I wanted to find my woman, lock it in, create a good relationship, and then be free of that whole experience so that I could move on to what I'm here to do with my life.
Yeah. And it's interesting you talk about the experience of dating there, because a lot of men, not all men, but a lot of men, they have a kind of opposite problem with dating, right? They get into it and they're fearful of actually locking into one woman. They're just cycling through constantly. Yeah. Like, I want to find a better woman. There must be another better one. Let me find that cyborg that has those other 15 traits and looks from those 17 women that I met, 10 years past, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you not come up against, do you find yourself coming together with those men to work with those sorts of guys?
Let me just actually tell you what's happening in that circumstance. So when a man is doing that, what he's doing is he has attachments to shallow thoughts. But what he doesn't have is a deeper truth. So imagine this. Imagine a man is like, all right, I'm looking for a woman that I want to create a life with, and I want to have kids, and I want to just build a beautiful life together. And if that's what you want, and you just start there, all you need to do is find a woman who's like, I want to create a solid life. And then you have a better relationship than, look, man, looks are fleeting. Like, everything comes and goes. You really need to be relating from a deeper place. So when I have a guy that's like, this archetype that you kind of described, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, I'm trying to find a woman, but like, I don't know, the woman I'm dating, like, I'm not super turned on by her. Here's what I'll say. When I met my wife, my like when she popped up on Tinder, I saw her. This is like, I was getting off Tinder. It was a year of dating, and I was getting off. She popped up, and I was like, oh, she's cute. So it wasn't like, oh, she's hot. Like, hot doesn't even mean anything. But she was, she's pretty. And so I was like, oh, she's cute. And I actually had this like thought, like, oh, she's probably pretty vanilla. I was like, oh, whatever. I don't care, because what I'm here to do is I want to create a deep, loving relationship with a woman. And she straight up said, like, she has a 3-year-old kid and she wants somebody to create a family with. And I was like, that's actually my deepest truth. That matters more than anything. And now what I know is I don't care if my wife is the hottest woman in the world or not. I chose my wife and I feel that she is. Like, I get to decide that she's the most attractive woman in the world. I get to decide that I just have unlimited desire for her. And I don't do this thing where it's like, oh, but somebody else is hotter. Like, that doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? And it's shallow. It's shallow. I'm not going to be the hottest guy forever. I'm going to get old. I'm going to get wrinkled. Like, what does that even mean? It's a temporary marker of something, Yeah. What I will say, there is a value that I had. What I was looking for was somebody who had a relationship to health, like ate well and understood well, because I live in the United States and we have a crazy obesity epidemic. And I just wanted to have a partner that cared about her well-being in the sense that she ate well and knew how to, because there's a resilience piece. It's not even about shape, size, and look. It's about, I wanted to be in partnership with somebody who is capable of being resilient in love. And that's vitality. When we actually talk about it, like, we're talking about vitality in life. And so I was looking for someone that was healthy in the sense of like had a relationship to food that was healthy and wasn't just like unconscious and, eating garbage all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying there is like the addiction to these shallow thoughts is that they're looking at life, not just relationships, but probably most of the time I see life at this very, very superficial layer of like, how does my life look to other people? Like, what are other people going to think about my life? Like, what are other people going to think of the woman that I'm with? Because if she doesn't make other men's heads turn, what does that say about me and who I am?
Yeah. That's interesting. I don't have a problem with that idea. I'm not really too concerned about what the world thinks about me and my relationship. Yeah, that's so interesting. Man, the shallowness of that. It's just not deep. It's not real. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need a woman that makes a certain amount of money. I don't need a woman that looks a certain way. The main markers I was looking for when I was looking for a woman was, I'm looking for a woman that has a good relationship to her mother, because that'll tell me that the maternal lineage is healthy. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't hate her mom, so that's good. And the second thing is that she's really looking for a deeper potential within relationship. Like, those are the two main things. And then, healthy food habits, open to having kids. Like, that's what I was looking for in that moment. So there were some, just tertiary things that were important for me. Yeah. But yeah, the whole thing, like, I need a hot chick. That is the most meaningless thing. But whatever. Okay, let's say some guy's attached to that. Then just look at her mom. If her mom's still attractive at like 60, then cool, you're good. That's the pro tip on how to guarantee longevity with attraction.
That is a pro tip. Look at their mother.
Yeah, whatever.
It's a good marker. It's interesting because I think back to like when I kind of decided, I was like, okay, I want to really meet someone now. Yeah. Like, one of the things that was really important to me was, okay, I want to be with someone who wants to grow their mind, like who wants to like, has an expansive mind, who's looking to experience more, and that can also bring experiences into my life that I may not have already had, or I wouldn't normally gravitate towards. So like someone who's going to be like, I don't know, what's my partner into that I'm really not in, I wouldn't normally go near. Years ago, I like hiking and walking. It's not my jazz, right? Or going to the forest and stuff. I lived by a forest for the best part of 15 years, and I probably visited 5 times. And we were together for 6 months, and I got wellies, and I'm walking through the forest, and I'm like, man, fuck, I love this forest. Like, this is amazing. Yeah. Like, someone who could bring something into my life and an energy into my life. And you said it takes a depth, right? Because we have to look beyond the kind of superficial things that we may see when someone pops up on Tinder. Like, that judgment there that you kind of admitted to, like, oh, she's probably vanilla. Like, for a lot of guys, that judgment there is enough for them to go, nah, can't be bothered. Or even if they get talking to her, any sign that she gives that she's vanilla, like, I don't know, something she says she ate that day or whatever, gives them the signal of, oh, I was right, she's vanilla, I don't want vanilla. I need something that's
Yeah.
like, even though the vanilla thing is superficial, because the really deep thing is, and I always say this to women, right? And then women hate this when I say to them. I'm like, you get really hung up on height with men, but a man's height is not going to give you emotional support throughout your relationship. Because those are the deeper issues. Like, or for men, it's like something that was really important to me was someone who was willing to support the dreams and life that I was wanting to create into.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And, one thing I just want to write the record. So even though I had that thought about my wife, what I realized is no matter what she is, I can bring her into the depth of my desires in terms of intimacy and, whatever. So I didn't, and also my wife's not vanilla. Turns out pretty quickly, I was like, oh, okay, this woman's ravenous and really exciting. So she, I discovered that pretty fast. But yeah, the thing is, what I would say is, as men, we can create whatever we want in relationship. So if we choose someone that's a yes to the excitement of your life and you want to create something exciting, if you can do it from a place of safety and trust, you can do anything with a woman. And this piece around, you want to choose a partner that awakens you, yes. And you said awakens you to experiences you wouldn't necessarily do otherwise. Here's something really interesting. As you were saying that, I was thinking about how my wife does that. So my wife is not, let me actually just say it this way. I'm like a fierce, let's get life done. Like I work hard. I'm constantly working. I work, in my mind, I'm working all night. I work weekends. I work a lot. So what my wife will do is she'll be like, I'm a fucking stand to go on a vacation with our kids and do something really awesome. Like in the next 3 months, like, what's up? What are we doing? And I'll be like, oh my God, I can't even imagine doing this right now. I have so much to do. And she's like, I don't care. Like we need to do this for our kids. And that's exactly what you're talking about. She is calling me into a deeper experience of life. And then so I go and do it. And one of the best memories I have from the past 6 months is waking up before the sun came up, waking my son up quietly, being like, let's go. And then grabbing the fishing gear and going out to the beach and just crushing it. We were just pulling fish in left and right. This old guy was on the beach and he taught me how to fish on the seaside. I'm not used to it. I fish on boats and docks and all that stuff. So anyway, this guy was like, yeah, here's how you beach fish. And he gave me some stuff. And my son and I were just tearing it up, pulling fish in left and right. And my son's 9. And he's actually really good at fishing. So I just, I remember sitting out there being like, this is what life's about. And that is not an experience I would create on my own. I mean, I'd love to say that I would create that on my own. I do take my son fishing occasionally, but on the beach in Florida, sun's coming up and there's an elder man fishing and then there's me and my son and we're just hanging out, crushing fish. And that's really my wife. My wife being a stand for a deeper experience with our family. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's funny hearing you say that. I then reflected some more. It's even my girlfriend, she's Swedish. So from time to time, she's trying to teach me a bit of Swedish here and there. And I'm out in Sweden with her and her family. And I'm sitting there in these on the archipelago in Sweden, these beautiful rocks. I'm I would never come here on my own, right? On a holiday. Yeah, totally. I wouldn't spend a month here. I know. Or be in a sauna with her dad and talking about how saunas work, or these are the experiences that I kind of live for. And I find it interesting because I also see, when I compare this to a lot of guys that talk to me about dating, is that when they see a difference, a woman is oh, she's from this culture, oh, that's going to be difficult for me because, I'm I find that fascinating because I'm where I see adventure and new learnings and stuff, you see effort that you don't want to put in or a depth you don't really want to go to.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, when I met my wife is from New Orleans and she's a Southern woman and she has a family that a very big family that lives around this area. And that's something that I was I had to adjust to that because she's like, hey, we're all going to get together, Mama's house today or whatever. And I was like, we were just there fucking 3 days ago. And she's like, yeah, but this is just how I live. I live with my family. I do my family stuff. And I've really relaxed into that. And I fucking love it. I love getting together with her family, and just being in that space and just but that's not something that's in my nervous system. I kind of grew up just on my own. I don't have a big support system in my family around me. I have a great brother. I have a great dad. But in terms of extended family, aunts and grandparents and all that stuff. And so, that was a space that I didn't know I needed. And now I love it. My mother-in-law comments on all my reels on Instagram. She's all up in my stuff. She's so great. I'll have a reel men need to get their lives together. And she's like, this is the best. You're so awesome. Thanks for doing this. I'm like, oh my God, Tammy, you're the most amazing mother-in-law. I love that. She's so supportive. Yeah. And go figure, because the thing that I needed throughout my whole life wife was a supportive mom. I lost my mom when I was young, and she was supportive up until her death. But like, then I lost it. And so now I've got this mom who's just like, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, oh my God, tell me more. Say more, please. Because it's like, that's like my card 3, card 3, like the thing that I needed from my childhood that I didn't get. And like, it's validation and just admiration. And so now I'm getting it from my wife's extended family. It's awesome. So anyway, I don't know. We're kind of on like a track, but here's the thing. Coming back to this idea that you said, which is that like you want to choose a partner that will take you into places that you wouldn't normally go. And that's very true for women. Like women, you want to choose a man that will take you into the life that you want to live or into places you are like excited to go. My wife wants to be lit up by me by like I just took her to LA, to Los Angeles to go to a Damien Rice concert. Do you know Damien Rice?
No, but I did see your reels.
Yeah. But he's from the UK and he's awesome, but he's old school. He's been around for like 20 years. Anyway, he's great, but he only played 4 shows in the United States. And so I was like, baby, I got us tickets. We're going to LA for Damien Rice. And she was like, what? And then we did it. And it was like the best experience. And she wants me to take her cool places. And you can imagine after like 21 trips for John Wineland and EMLT and all those programs, she's like, stop going to fucking waterfalls without me. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're right. Let's go.
And that's like a key thing, right? For us men to be able to take the women we're with on experiences, emotional, spiritual, sexual experiences that they either cannot or will not or couldn't fathom to take themselves.
100%.
What's the kind of reverse? What at his depth is a man really looking for? Not beyond the superficial stuff that men get trapped in because of society, but what really is like at the kind of core of his soul is each man really looking for from a woman?
This is so beautiful and it's so true. If you look back in your mind, like if you close your eyes and you think back, 10,000 years, and you imagine us in these smaller kind of village circumstances, and men are out there, building huts, hunting, protecting against external foes, when a man comes home from the woods, a nourishing home, love, devotion, support, admiration, like those are the nourishments, those are the nutrients that men need from the feminine, right? So imagine coming back to like your village and like your woman's just like, oh, baby, I've got like, and this is going to get ridiculous. I'm not trying to go traditional values on you on your podcast, but like, baby, I have something I made for you. Like, come home. Like, let me clean you. Like, let me clean you off and just like bring you into love. Right. And so like getting out of this kind of existential vision quest that I just took your listeners on, getting into reality here, like the gift of the feminine is to bring you home into yourself and into love and into just being like, yeah, baby, you're doing great. Because men are just crushing it at life. We're trying to do our mission. We're trying to be on purpose. And that's all important. But when we get into love and relationship, the feminine gift is to say, come here, let me put my hands on you. Let me wrap myself around you. Let me give you a feeling of goodness in your heart, your body, sensually as well. Like, let me invite you into the moment of now with us. Right. So those are the gifts. And I think the number one thing that I get from my wife is I just have an incredible support. She loves me. She supports me. She supports me in my work, but she also supports me just as a man. She just knows what I need and she fulfills those needs. And so, when I have time with my wife, it's always just like we're relaxing into love. We're coming home to each other, soft music, soft touch. That's the stuff that I think I need and most men need, from their women. Like, I don't need another man that's like crushing it at life. I need a woman that like I can come home to and be like, baby, I had a hard fucking day. She's like, all right, we'll sit down. Let me put my hands on your shoulders. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's funny because I did a questionnaire with a bunch of guys probably about 4 or 5 years ago when I was starting the podcast. And one of the questions was, what are the traits that you look for in a woman? And kindness, compassion, and support were the top 3. They were the ones that came up again and again and again. And I remember telling some of the women that were listening, they were like, I can't believe those are the things. Like, I think there's something else. I'm like, no. Like, when I speak to the guys, what was so important for them was like, I have a purpose and I have a mission that I'm trying to fulfill in my life, like whether that's building business, whether that's, they love running, whatever. And they were like, what I really would love is someone who supports me in that and isn't going to see the thing I'm doing, my mission, as a competition to her.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. Someone that supports you in your work, supports you in your mission, and then when you come home, brings you into the love and the softness of love. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Baby, I'm proud of you. I love the work you're doing. I support you. I admire you.
Mm.
Will you take out the fucking trash? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like you're in my it's like you're a little fly in my kitchen, because that conversation is
we're
so
all in the
common.
same. We're all in the same story, man.
Yeah.
We're living out the same lives, all of us. Same.
Yeah. Come downstairs.
Yeah, it's great.
Come downstairs, and she's like, "How's your podcast? It's really good." I was like, "Can you take out the bin?" Okay.
Yeah. I know. This is our life, man. We're just going to take out the trash, and handle our business and just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
You mentioned like making a choice for the sort of woman that you want, or the relationship you want to create from a place of depth. We talked about the shallow depth.
Yes.
And I imagine some of them are listening are like, what the fuck does that mean? And how do I find that place to make that decision from?
Yeah. All right. So I work with a lot of men on this. I'm sure you do too. Here's the thing. Get out of your thinking. If there's a man who's listening to this podcast and you don't know what you want in a relationship, you don't know what you like, just stop, slow down, learn how to breathe and get out of your mind games. And I often lead these little vision quests where I take men into their subconscious and just say, what are you here to create with your life? Like when you imagine yourself in 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, what do you see around you? Do you see yourself alone in a cabin, or do you see yourself with kids that are off to college? Like, what are you seeing? And what we have to do is we have to get into, what do I deeply know to be true about me and the life I'm creating? Rather than, what am I doing with my life? What do I need to do next? That's neurotic. And that's ultimately fight or flight from a lack of safety or a lack of knowing. And what we need to do is get beneath that. And we go, okay, here I am. Let's say I'm 35 years old. I don't have kids yet. I'm single. What am I going to create in my life? And I think the number one most important thing men need to address is, do you want to have kids or not? And if you're well, I think so, then you're a yes. If you're a no, you're a no. Anything else is pretty much a yes, but you just haven't found right partnership. And the reason this is so important is because I see this across the field. There are people that are in their 30s and 40s that are trying to figure out what to do with relationship, and they're ignoring the child part because it's too big. It's too big to even grasp. Well, and we as men and leaders, we need to really hold men to the fire on this, our kids in your future. If a man's like 38 years old and he's like, yeah, just not now. It's like, no, bro, chill out. Like, women have a timeline. You need to respect that. Men have a timeline. Your sperm decreases incredibly after 40, like the viability of sperm. Like, if this is something that you're a yes to, then make it a priority. I've been making reels about this week, so it's funny it's coming up here, but the clarity of knowing where you're going in your life is incredibly important. If you're 20, you don't need a lot of clarity. But if you're 30, you need to start being really clear. What am I doing with my life? And if you don't know the answer, learn some meditation and breath work so you can get out of your mind and you can go into, who am I and what do I believe about myself? And most of us, 85% of us are going to have kids. And a lot of people are avoiding that conversation because it's like, it's a big one, the burdens that are going to come when I have kids. More ball and chain, if you're in the UK, but it's really not like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's almost as well like the kids question for men, and I spent a lot of time talking to guys, especially when I was younger, is like, first of all, it's like, the burden. And then when you get into the question with men a bit more, it's like, it's not so much the burden, it's the story of what their own childhood was like, and not wanting to like the pain of that. Perpetuating it, or even just feeling powerless to not perpetuate it.
Man. Yeah, that's scary. Well, fuck it. This is what we got. Do your best. And if you have that awareness already, then you're probably not going to perpetuate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got rainbows on my face. I love that. It's light. But anyway, no, I think the thing that's really important here is that men need to slow down, and you need to, look, if you're a man and you're in your 30s and you don't know what you're doing with your life, find a men's work experience where you can get out of your life, or even just get a couple friends together and go sit on a mountainside for 2 days in a cabin and just ask each other the real questions. Like, instead of like smoking a bunch of weed and drinking, like ask like, what are you guys doing with your lives? Like, what are we all doing here? Like, what's the moment that we're in lives, and just get some feedback. I think the most powerful thing that I've ever done, this is actually a really good pro tip for anybody that's in a moment where they're not sure what to do about your life. I reached out to a number of elders not conscious elders, just regular people that were like 65 to 75 years old. And I asked them some basic questions. Like I asked them, tell me about your life story. And I asked them like, what's the most important thing you've learned about life? What are your biggest regrets? And I interviewed around 22 people. I did this when I was like 35 or 36. And by talking to a number of elders across the economic spectrum, so one guy was like extremely wealthy, another guy was not really that wealthy at all, and there was some women in there. And I learned a lot about what it means to have a fulfilling life. I learned a lot about what it means to be a man in the world, creating a powerful life. And it was from there that I was able to reassess, okay, what's my North Star for what I'm doing with my life? What are the things I want to create as a man in this world? And so, sitting with elders, whether it's in a conscious community or whether you just go and ask like, hey, can I interview you about your life? I'm really curious. Most people want to talk about their lives, especially elders, because they don't really get to. And so I had an incredible experience with a number of men that just really, it corrected my course immediately, because I was like, oh, okay, I see. I get what matters. And then I just really doubled down on creating that.
Mm-hmm. What were some of the common things that came out of the kind of regrets and desires and the stories you heard?
Yeah. So the number one thing that I realized was everybody said the same thing, which was the most important thing in life is the relationships we create with our children, with our brothers, our sisters, our friends, and really having good, deep, fulfilling friendships and relationships with our children. And that was the thing that really helped me go, yeah, okay, I'm here to have kids. Like, that's what I'm after. And then I was able to choose from that place. The regrets that came up had to do with the exact same thing. So like one guy who was like the wealthiest real estate magnate in the state of Florida, I interviewed him and he was just like, I'm really proud of the work that I've done. And I'm proud of being, like as powerful as I am in the world of wealth and politics. But the thing that I really regret is that I did it at the, I ignored my family. I ignored my wife. I ignored my kids. And they don't really talk to me these days. And it really burns my soul. And I really wish that I had leaned more into the family thing and I had done more for my kids to feel like, hey, I'm your dad, I'm here. And so, between those regrets and some other regrets just around missing opportunities for deeper connection, somebody that had gotten divorced, he was like, I now know that the way I showed up in this relationship wasn't healthy. And I regret that. Like, I regret doing the work that I now know to be true so that I could have done right by my wife and my kids. So it's just funny how all the regrets come down to, I didn't do more to cultivate relationships with my wife or my kids. And all of the things that people said really mattered about life had nothing to do about, it was not about career. It wasn't about yeah, sure. I'm proud of the work that I did, or I'm proud of the books that I published, or I'm proud of the blah, blah, blah. That was in the conversation. But really what most people said was, I'm proud to be a dad. I love my kids. Kids are what it's about, having these children. And I interviewed one woman who didn't have her own kids, but she married a man that had kids. And she was just like, being able to fulfill my role as a model for, as a mother. And I was just like, it really boggled my mind, because I was like, fuck, this is so important, And what I will say, if people are out there listening that are like, oh, I'm not going to have kids, what you can do instead of having kids is you have to look at, what am I taking on in terms of my responsibility to serve the world into a more beautiful place? Because you can be a person that's serving other people and you can get a lot of fulfillment out of that. But the fulfillment of life comes from service of others. Full stop. We won't feel fulfilled in life if we're just serving ourselves all the time, because those experiences are fleeting and they kind of burn out quickly. But if we're cultivating a footprint in the world where our transmission and our service is valued by others, we will feel good. I mean, you could be the best soup kitchen spoon guy at one soup kitchen for 30 years, and that would give you fulfillment, because you'd be a regular, everyone knows you, they'd love you, they would adore you. That would be something that would bring fulfillment in your life. If you're not on the path of, having kids and creating that. When we have kids, it's something else altogether. It's just I have life purpose built into my every single day. How I bring him to school this morning, for example, I drop my kid off, the experience I'm giving my kid every day. Am I building him up to be emotionally resilient? I'm realizing just how big it is, to steward people through their lives, from a sense of purpose. So anyway, you asked me what the elders told me. That was kind of the biggest thing. Focus on relationships, focus on kids, focus on building family units. It's the only thing that matters. Not everything else is fleeting.
Because it's like, those are the things that ultimately bring us like, not just long lasting joy. It's a more expansive joy than just like, I made a bunch of money, or I'm a famous dude. It's like that you see what you pour into another human being, and then you see them run off and do their thing, whether that's a wife, whether that's children, whether that's community, and you see that joy, that love you cultivated with them emanate beyond you into other people that you never meet or see. And they may come to you one day and go, hey, my friend, my dad, my brother told me a story about you. And you're like, oh shit, like who I am has carried well beyond me.
It's having an impact beyond me. Yeah. And that comes from service, you know? Aubrey Marcus, it's funny. Aubrey Marcus, you know who he is? Yeah. So he's got the fit for service thing. And I really love what he's doing, because like, I don't think he has kids, and I don't think he wants kids, but he's creating like a whole community of people who are fit for service. And I'm like, yes, that's what you do. That's what you do. If you decide like children isn't in your path, you go, how can we serve the world into greater depth, into more love, into more connection? How can we create experiences where people are feeling intimately connected to others? Like I'm a hell yes to his work and what he's doing out there. And so, yeah, like that's the thing. How do we create more depth in the world? That's the biggest call. And listen, when you're on your deathbed, let's say that you're like at the last moment of your life, you're not going to think about the trips. You're not going to think about the money. You're going to just look, you're going to see your wife, you're going to see your kids, or you're going to see the people who you've had a profound impact on over the course of your life who love you, you know? And like, no one is ever saying like, let's say someone's writing a eulogy for me. They're not going to be like, oh, Max was an amazing, wealthy guy. Like, that's not what they say. They say like, he did amazing things for the world. He contributed to the world. Like maybe if there was a wealthy guy, it's like his philanthropy was impactful and wide. So it's like what he did from his expression is what matters. Not like, you know, oh, he had the biggest house and the nicest car. Although having a fun car is a fun thing to do, especially if you drive a lot. So I'm not going to knock fast cars and fucking awesome automobiles.
You drive a lot?
I drive a lot, and I have a Prius, and it's falling apart because I live in the city of New Orleans, Louisiana, and the streets are horrible. And so I do not currently have an amazing car, but I have this burning, you know, really interesting thing. My mom was really conservative and she was super Catholic. And so I didn't really know this part of her, but later on in life, I found that when she was in her late teens, she bought a 1966 Ford Mustang Blue.
Wow.
That is the most badass car. It's sick. And I was like, my mom had a Mustang, and I actually asked one of my aunts recently. I don't talk to them that much, but I was like, hey, can you verify this? Is it true that my mom had a Ford Mustang in like mid 1960s? And she's like, let me ask my brother Billy. He might know. And yeah, like I get a text back, and he's like, yes, she absolutely adored that car, and she drove it all the time. And I was like, fuck, I need to get I just want to, like, now it's like this, it's this like, I have to buy that car. I have to drive the car that my mom had when she was a teenager and bring that back. So, you know, if I ever pick up like a nice Ford Mustang with a big engine in it, I'll call you up. We can go cruise.
Do some routes in the States. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be great. We'll get pulled over constantly. We'll get out of the South. Go hit up something nice like Highway 1. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. It's creating depth in the world.
That's it.
But we start with ourselves as men. We start with ourselves. We create depth with ourselves. And part of depth is getting in touch with our feelings and our emotions, the intelligence that is in our body, right?
That's where it starts.
And getting out, you said, you know, getting out of the head. But that can feel like quite an alien experience for a man who has lived his life in his head, you know, figuring out, strategizing, working out.
Yeah.
And it can feel like an overwhelming experience as well. You know, when suddenly you have all these emotional experiences flooding. Like, how can we deal with that? The overwhelming nature of the emotions of being alive as a man. Like when we start to do this work and we start to feel more, like how do we become resilient to that?
It's breath, 100% breath. First of all, if there's a man that has no idea how to do this process, surround yourself with other men in men's workspaces. That's the only place I know that's happening. I mean, somatic therapy might, but like, I think that you need to be surrounding yourself with men who are deepening so you can understand what depth feels like, what it means, what it sounds like when a man's talking to you, how it's being transmitted through his body. I've been thinking a lot about this. The process of taking an unconscious man who's in his head all the time and bringing him into conscious awareness and bringing him into an experience of his emotions. It's like a psychedelic trip. You're breaking them open to an entirely new world, and it can be really discombobulating. So I think it's critical to do it in the space of men. You know, this is why men's programs are so good. Men's leadership is so good. And the reason I said breath, when you start to have an experience of your emotions, You're either going to kick off into the wildness of your response to your emotions, or you're going to go, okay, I'm having emotional experiences. Like, what do I do with this? And I teach a lot of breath just around calming the nervous system, rooting back into the, the felt experience of life. Like, I'll feel my feet on the floor. I'll feel my face. I'll relax my jaw. I'll relax my heart, my shoulders. That's how I manage emotional experiences. I just breathe through them. Then I go, okay, wow, I'm having a big experience of fear. I'm having a big experience of anger. And if it's anger, I might need to move my body. I might need to like punch a pillow a couple times. Like the other day, my son, man, there's this one difficult moment in our life that's pretty repeating. It happens a lot. It's around dinner time and getting everyone to sit down and eat their dinner. And he struggles with it. And then in the struggle of it, I always just get frustrated because I'm just like, dude, you ate the same thing yesterday and you were fine. Like, why is today this and so why I'm saying this is because I recognize that I have an emotional response to that circumstance happening. So now what I get to do is I get to go, all right, he's probably going to be hard in like 10 seconds. Be prepared. So he starts getting difficult and I go, there we go. There's my emotions kicking up. I'm frustrated. And the other day it happened and I was just depleted and I didn't have the capacity to be with it. So I just said, I got to get up. And so I walked into my bedroom and I just punched a pillow like 20 times just so I could move the anger through my body and the frustration. And then I went back out and I just said, listen, River, you need to eat your dinner. I don't care how much you eat as much as you can, but we can't just complain about it every single day and expect that like we're going to have a cohesive, I'm not telling him this, but like a cohesive emotional experience. I was just like, listen, man, just do your best. So that's me doing my emotional work separate from my family so I can come back and be like, okay, here we are. You know what I mean? Mm. It's important. You got to learn how to work it through the body. Breath.
And I imagine this is the same process you can bring into your relationship as well. It's like to do your emotional work without projecting that onto your partner.
Yeah. So here's how I'll draw it out. So anyone that's first coming into men's work, first you got to just feel the big stuff. Your anger at your dad, your anger at your mom, your heartbreak, your sadness, your grief that you haven't felt. You got to do the big stuff first. So feel through all the big emotions in spaces with men. Then when you get to the maintenance level of life, as things kick up, you just need to do your practices. So if your practice is, wow, I'm feeling anxious, you go lay on your floor and you do deep breath and you soften the anxiety of your chest. Or, wow, I'm feeling anger. You go in your room and you punch a pillow a couple times, just move that aggression through your body. Or, wow, I'm feeling really confused. So you just come to breath and you just go, I'm a man lying on the floor having breath. What do I need to do today? Whatever your emotional experience is, there's a way of using practice to sort of transmute it. And that's what you do at the maintenance level. But that can only really happen after you've really moved through the big stuff that you're withholding, because a lot of men are just locked up around emotional experiences from their childhood that they've never felt. You got to feel that stuff first. And that's the sacred work that we do in men's spaces. The shadow work, the withheld feelings, the big, like moving the anger, like the thing you've never said to your dad. You know what I mean? Yeah. So do that shit first to get it off your system. And then you can do maintenance level emotional work as a man. Yeah. That's the process.
Yeah. So if you don't work through that big stuff, you're numbing yourself to that because that's overwhelming and you want to avoid those feelings. Yes. So you'll be walking through life. So those little anxieties, not little anxieties, those kind of medium to small anxieties, you won't even really notice them. You'll just be like, I feel something, but because you're pretty numb, you won't even notice them. So as you said, it's going to the big stuff first. Like you said, the partner, the family, the heartbreak, like allow yourself into that. And that's where you feel held and safe. So that then you can start to move through and touch on those maintenance level things.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had a guy in my men's circle who was like, I can't cry. He's like, I just went through like a horrible breakup. My wife divorced me and I just can't cry about it. And I'm like, man, that's because you're contracted around childhood stuff that you just have never worked out. So let's work this. So in a room with 25 guys, I had him sit in the front in the middle of the room. And I just called him into feeling the pain over and over again. I put on the right music, and I had him just voice like, why did you leave me? Voicing the things that are like the heartbreaking things. And it took a really long time to get him to finally hit the like vein of feeling in his body. And then when he did, he just lost it. And he just, it wasn't just about his ex-wife. It was about his mother. It was about his childhood. And he just lost it. And then after that moment, he just awakened to having his emotions back. And so it's like, you can tell this man has been contracted around, why did you leave me? Since he was 4 years old, and contracting around that big emotion, he can't feel anything. And that's why probably he got divorced, because she probably couldn't feel him feeling anything. He's just contracted around his emotions. And so anyway, what's interesting is he brought this up during a circle the other day. He was like, ever since that experience, I've been able to feel the beauty of the heartbreak and the beauty of the pain. Like I've been able to feel myself and I've been able to cry. And like, he's like, I'm having a real experience of life now. And that's a beautiful thing to hear from a man who a year ago was like, I can't feel. I don't know my emotions. I can't feel them. And it's like, well, that's because you're contracted around them.
Wow.
Yeah. It's great. It's a beautiful thing to experience. And he's just one, man. I've seen this, we've been in the John Wineland containers. We do it every year with guys. We take guys through their deep stuff really fast, right at the front end so that we can crack that shit right open. And then from there, now we go into the nuance of how do we work with this new landscape of life where we can feel our emotions? What are we doing with our emotions? Are we expressing them in healthy ways? Here are some tools to use. You know what I mean? And that's really the way, that's how you work with a man. Like if there were thousands of men's containers that kind of followed the format that John has, then we'd be in good standing because it's about address the big shit right away. And then for 6 months, let's hold you as you sort of reacclimate, and integrate this new awareness. And that's why these programs are so important. So crack the men open, get them to feel their shit, and then help them understand how to work with a new landscape of emotions being available.
Yeah. I never seen it in that exactly that way, in that pathway. But now obviously you've explained it, I can see how that has, I can even see it in my own life experience, like
totally
being like 26 and being in a landmark forum and being told you need to forgive your father. And then calling him and crying on the phone to him and him being quite concerned because I'm crying. Then I told my friends about this and they were like, you fucking crazy. Why have you done this? And actually like doing that for me killed my relationship with my father to a point where like he hasn't changed. Like he's still the same guy he pretty much has been, but I respond completely different to him. I'm no longer a child who's angry at him. I'm a man who's like, I wouldn't say necessarily I feel sorry for him, but I see him as a flawed human being who's trying to do his best. So the way we conversate is like, it doesn't have this charge of like frustration and anger. It's like, oh, hey, how are you doing?
You didn't give me what I need. You didn't give me what I need. Yeah. Instead, you can just be like, yeah, man, I love you. I hope you're doing good. Yeah. I have a similar thing with my dad. I had a lot of contraction around my dad. My mom passed away when I was 16 and my dad went into his own grief and just disappeared. And so I was a 16-year-old without parents. And I was like, what the fuck? And so for the rest of my life, I was like, fuck you for not being there for me. But what I didn't see was the grief that he was in. He just lost the woman of his dreams. I completely didn't see that because I was in my own selfish experience of childhood, which is normal and whatever. That's what we're going to do. But eventually I had to really go like, okay, I want to heal my dad. I want to heal this wound with my dad. So I interviewed my dad. He was one of the elders. I interviewed him about his life. I learned all about his experience. And I got to really ask him like, what was it like losing, Diane is my mom's name. So I was like, what was it like losing Diane? And he was like, it was the worst experience I've ever had of my life. And I was like, tell me about it. And I was like, wow, holy shit. Like, no wonder you weren't available for me. And I got to go, I'm so sorry that happened. And then I got to go, I'm a fucking dick. Like, wow, like I'm holding all this anger at my dad. Like I'm not allowing my dad to be a human being, having his own experience of loss. And so anyway, I was able to right the relationship with my dad because I just decided, fuck it. My dad's a great guy. He did his best. I'm going to love him at that place. And it changed the entire relationship, just like you with my dad. Because I released my resentments. I released my anger. I just said, I fucking love you, man. I love you. You're a good man. Thank you for being such a good dad in the ways that you were a good dad. And it's changed my landscape. I'm free. I feel free. That's one of the things. It's liberated me from the bullshit of my attachments to being mad at my dad.
Yeah. Did that shift anything in your kind of capacity to love in relationship as well?
100%. 100%. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I think men need to really hear, which is that your relationship to your mother and your relationship to your father, if it's unresolved, it's 100% going to just continue to play out in your relationships in life with your love partners. And so, yes, 100%. When I relaxed all of my both conscious and subconscious resentments toward my father, when I got really clear on what they were and I relaxed them, it allowed me to see my dad as a human being. And from that place, I get to see my wife as a human being. So even though there's some expectations and desires I have for how my wife shows up, when she can't show up that way, I get to go, she's having a hard day. Instead of being like, you're not giving me love. I get to go, oh man, what do you need? Like, what do you need? What can I do to help you? Like, empathy. We create a more empathetic scenario in our life when we can have empathy for our parental experience, even if they were horrible, man. Like, even if they were horrible, you know, because we have to remember our parents often came from even worse circumstances. So that was one of the things that really helped me with my dad. Like, I was like, man, my dad sucked. Like, he wasn't a good dad. And I was like, well, wait a second. His dad was horrible. His dad was abusive, was a dick, like died when my dad was 20. Like, my dad didn't do that. My dad didn't abuse me. He didn't throw me against the wall. Like, my dad did 50% better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a big improvement. Like, that's a big improvement. And so I get to go, wow, my dad really upped the game in terms of how he showed up as a dad over what he learned from his dad. And so even though it might not have been perfect conscious parenting, which it certainly was not, he did a lot better than his father.
Yeah.
So
and we have that space for empathy for them, because those childhood experiences are so vivid, but also quite selfish. So when we have the empathy that we can for our parents, it's like it unlocks, like my experience was like, once I could have empathy for him and even my mother in many ways as well, I was able to like really stand in other people's perspectives far easier and like listen to other people's. I stopped being so, I don't know if the phrase is right. Yeah. So righteous in like what I think is right and how I see the world is right. I started to be like, there's all these different nuances that I have no awareness of, but I'm willing to like play with standing and stepping inside of.
Yes. Yeah. It's really beautiful when you can grant everybody their beingness. Like, you can go, I see you for where you're at, and not have any attachment or desire for them to be different. We create a lot better of a circumstance in life. You know, I don't need anyone to be different for any reason. Like, when I meet people, I'm just like, cool, I see who you are. I'm cool with that. That's great. And either I engage with you or I don't, based on whatever we're doing. But there's some people I'll just be like, no, I don't really like the way you show up in life. Cool. I'm cool with that. We're not going to be friends. Or, you know, and it's just from a place of like, I can grant everyone their beingness. I don't need anything to change. You know what I mean? So anyway, I think it's really valuable. I think it's valuable to be able to accept people where they are, especially our parents. And then from that place, have empathy. And it will create a much wider, more expansive potential of our lives. Beautiful, beautiful work. And I commend you for the work you did with your dad, man. That's great.
Oh, thank you, man. It took a bit of time, but it was well worth it in the end. Well beyond worth it in the end.
Yeah. You know, one thing I'll say too, something that's really powerful that's worked for me in life is I get to choose what I believe about the world. So I can either be attached to negative beliefs about how the world sucks and it's not serving me, or I can go, no, let me look at all the ways the world is serving me. Let me look at all the ways that things are working out well for me. And when I do that, when I shift away from life sucks to things actually are pretty good, where they are good, you know, what ends up happening is I give myself freedom because I'm not in the burden of things aren't working. I'm in the possibility of things are good and I can create from here. And so that's true about parental wounds. Like, my dad did the best he could and he was good in certain ways. Like, let me look at all the ways he was good instead of really being attached to the ways he was bad or not a good dad. When we switch our awareness, whether it's our dads, moms, or life itself, we actually become empowered to create from a wider, open place. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah. And so my wife is a big proponent of this. She's really big into Abraham Hicks and just like really like be available for all the glory that life is here to give you, because otherwise you're just never going to receive it. And so she's always just pointing out like, look, like the sun's shining. It's so beautiful. Or she'll come in my office. I'll be working and she'll be like, open your windows. And I'll be like, what are you doing? And she's like, the sun's shining. And I'm like, baby, like the light. And she's like, turn it up. You bought a light that works with the sun. And I'm like, you're right. But she's like, you just need to feel how good the world is right now. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm trying to figure out this program. Like, it doesn't feel good right now. And she's like, well, it could. And I'm like, damn it. You're right. Yeah. My wife is my wisest oracle. She's brilliant. I'm pretty sure she's like ancient. Like, she was born like 3,000 years ago and she just showed up for me. It's amazing.
Just to bring you through.
Yeah. Just to be like, it's a constant reminder. Everything's okay.
Yeah. Everything's okay.
It's like amazing. She's really good at it.
Yeah. And I bring that into like I imagine you do the same thing into your work with people, because so often, you know, we started talking about dating, like people look at dating as if like, oh my God, it's this terrible thing. Like there's no hope and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be like that. Like, you know, I'm always reminding people, like when people talk to me about dating apps, I'm like, you realize there's people who are meeting on dating apps and getting happily fucking married, right? Yeah. And there's people out there.
I met her on Tinder. Yeah.
Yeah. People that meet each other and getting married and getting together, like, because they believe that it's possible. They move through
Yeah.
a world in their mind where like, yeah, this thing is possible and this could be beautiful and I could see the good. But if we entrench ourselves in this, like, it's all fucking fucked. It's terrible. Like, relationships are fucked. There's no chance of having anything
Women
good,
are
meaningful, and
terrible.
deep. Yeah.
Meeting women on apps. No, they all want whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fucked if we do that. No, I mean, here's the thing. When you're meeting people on dating apps, just recognize that almost everybody wants an expansive life of love in relationship, period, full stop. And some people aren't available for it right now. I wish that everyone could just be honest, but they're not honest because they're afraid if they're honest, they're not going to find cheap, quick love, right? And so anyway, yeah, the whole thing about dating apps is be as fiercely honest as you can. I literally put on mine, like, I'm looking for a woman to become my wife and I want to have a family. And when I saw my wife pop up, it was like, mother of a 3-year-old, like, life, love, blah, blah, blah. I forget what she said, but I could trust that. And when I met her, I was like, what do you want out of a relationship? And she's like, well, I want someone I can practice love with and I want to create a family. Like, I have a son and I would love to just like really create a family. And I was like, well, that's great. I want a family. I want a woman that I can do life with. And I think you're really fucking cute. So let's go. And I knew the day I met her, I was like, this is my woman. I'm choosing her, full stop. And I chose her and I have not turned back since. But here's the thing that I think is important to tell you is, if you're on dating sites, you need to have clarity. You need to know what you're doing. Like, what is the kind of person you're after and why are you after a relationship? And be ruthlessly honest. I created a dating strategy. I'll share it with you and you can share it with your people if you're running a program. Basically, have super clarity, go on enough dates that you can ask the right questions and feel the person that you're in front of. And then if she's a hell yes, fucking all in, brother. Go all in and choose that woman and create the life of your dreams. Because don't spend 5 years dating people. If you're efficient, I didn't date anyone for more than 4 weeks. So basically, I would go on a first date. If it was a yes or a maybe, I would go on up to 4 weeks of dates. And if I couldn't arrive at hell yes at 4 weeks, 6, 7 dates in, then I was a no. And I just said, thank you, moving on. And by having it be efficient, I didn't get into the like sticky of dating. I did get to a point where I was like, man, when am I going to find this woman? Like, what the fuck? But I just stayed on it and I stuck to my structure. I dated around 20 people. 4 of them I dated for more than a few weeks. And in each case, I was like, almost, but not quite. Thank you. Moving on. And then I just kept going. And I was actually getting off the dating sites. Do you know the song You Can't Hurry Love by the Supremes?
I've heard it, yeah.
Yeah, classic. So I remember one day I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I released this. I'm going to take 3 months off from dating and then I'm going to try again. And in the meantime, I'm going to do something great with my life. And so I was playing that song. Dun, 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 like whatever. I was just like, I was lit and I was closing the dating container and I got off OkCupid. I got off Bumble. And when I pulled up Tinder, Kelly popped up and I was like, oh shit. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give her till tomorrow and then fuck it. So I swiped right on her, closed my phone, listened to that song. And I was like, love will find me when it's ready. And the next morning, 9:30 in the morning on a Saturday, my phone pings and I was like, oh, I wonder if it's that girl. Pulled it up. It's that girl. I was like, huh. And then I was like kind of on the way out of dating. So I sent her like a blasé fucking first message that was just like, man, like fucking whatever, blah, blah, blah. And she responded and she was like, I know, really. And I was like, what's up? Who are you? What are you looking for? And we just got into it. And I was like, I need to talk to this woman. So by the end of the day, I had her on the phone. By the next day, I was like, I need to meet you. Like, can I meet you within a day? And so I met her on April Fool's Day and we fucking fell in love that day. And I haven't turned back since. And I knew that day, I was like, I found my woman. And I made sure to take a photo of her the day I met her because I was like, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life. And thank fucking God. I went to take a picture and she's like, no, don't take a picture of me. So it's so funny. She's like hiding. And I'm just like, I have this selfie and she's like, and it's the best. I'll send it to you. It's really cute. But anyway, I was able to be such a hell yes to my wife because I knew what I wanted. I knew what I was after. And when she popped up, I didn't even have to date her for 3 weeks. I knew day one, I was like, boom, I just found my woman without a doubt. You know what I mean? And I've been free since. I don't have to fucking date. I don't have to deal with that shit. I don't have to deal with confusing stuff. Now I'm just creating a powerful life. My love life is checked off. It's awesome. It's super hot. It's passionate. We have 2 kids and I'm just crushing it, And thank God I got clear. Thank God, because that allowed me to date for a year with clarity, find the woman of my dreams, check that box off. And now I can just fucking get on podcasts with you, which is really what I want to do with my time.
Yeah. And I think what I really taking away from this episode is like creating that clarity, like really in the space of dating is like creating the clarity of like what you want, the clarity in who you are, like, and what's meaningful for you. And when we make those decisions and we're dating and we're relating from that point of view, like, it's a bit like just getting your values clear. things become more simple because there's less confusion at the kind of foundational structure of how you're living and how
That's
you're
100%.
dating and how you're relating.
Yeah, get your values clear. It's dead right. You know, what do you stand for in your life? What are you here to create with your life? Who are you? When you close your eyes and you think about yourself in 20 years, what does your life look like? What's around you? Are there children? Are there people? Like, where are you in the world? Like, real good clarity around what you're doing with your life, and date from that place. And don't play games. Be really fierce. Be like, this is what I'm looking for. Does this align with you? Most of the first dates I went on that didn't go beyond a first date was just simply because I said, you know, what are you looking for in a relationship? And people would give me these shit answers and I'd be like, cool, we're not going to align. Thanks. I went on a date with this like super sensual, like hot chick. And I even remember being in the tension between like, oh, she'd be so much fun, but also like, this is not what I'm looking for in relationship. And so I was like, cool, what a great pattern interrupt. Past me would have definitely been like, yeah, let's play. But I was just like, no, you know what? I'm looking for a wife. And you, as juicy as you might be, like I'm after love and you're not available for it. You know, you don't even know where you're going to live in 6 months. And so it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. She's just floating.
And so I was able to go, and so I was able to be really fierce. Oh, and that's the other thing. Actually, I just highlighted something that's important. Don't date because she's hot and you want to sleep with her. Date because you want to find what you want to find in relationship. And then if she happens to be beautiful and whatever, you can get into the intimacy world. But man, so many people are dating just to get these primal needs met. And that's one of the big things that's stopping people from real relationship, because you're dating for shallow, quick, whatever. Like, I want to get laid, or I want to sleep with somebody, or like, you know, I'm addicted to sex. I need to find somebody. Like, get out of that relationship. You know, sex matters, intimacy matters, but man, don't let that lead why you're dating and what you're trying to create.
Yeah. Leading with lust.
Oh, it's the worst. I mean, I get it though. I'm a super sensual guy and I really love intimacy, but at some point you got to fucking tame that beast and go, what am I really trying to create in life?
Yeah.
And then when you find her, fuck her to God and make a fucking mess of it all and have fun. You know?
Yeah, man. Oh, Max.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. This has been a weaving, thrilling conversation about all the ins and outs of dating and relationships, and even slipped in there some stuff about online apps and how to really have a powerful structure from there. I imagine the listeners are wondering like where they can hear from more from you, those reels that you mentioned earlier. Like, where can people get more?
So, you know, I'm on Instagram. I teach a lot on Instagram. I just put my teachings out constantly because I think it's really important. So Max Trombly on Instagram. My company name is A Shift in Being. So my website is ashiftinbeing.com. You know, and for now, right now, mainly what I do is I coach people one-on-one, but I am going to launch some men's programs, and I actually have some things I might be doing in Europe. So maybe we'll link up. Maybe I'll pull you in for something. But I want to bring some men into deep experiences in Europe, because you know, especially for in the United States, most of the men that are in my men's workspaces have a European ancestry, and they're missing that link. They're like disconnected from what it means to be a man, from those like that soil, those waters. And so I am looking to build a couple experiences that bring people back to like their ancestry, like deep ancestry, like 10,000, 20,000 year old ancestry. So it'd be cool if you came out. You should come out and we should do something.
Yeah, man, hit me up. I'm down for it.
Yeah, I love that. Cool. Yeah. So again, Max Trombly. I'm on Instagram. That's the best way to find me. Or awesome. TikTok, I guess, if you're on TikTok. There's a lot of people on TikTok. I'm there too.
You're a TikTok man as well.
Yeah, dude, that's a wild world, man. TikTok is crazy. I was on Instagram and I'm like, yeah, this all makes sense. I get on TikTok and I'm like, what is happening here? This is insane. Like, people are just throwing like everything at everybody. It's sort of like walking into, if you dosed an elementary school with acid and you walked in at lunchtime, that's what TikTok feels like to me. Like, everybody's fucked and they're throwing food and there's people that think they're lions. And it's like, so I get in TikTok and I'm like, this is crazy. But it actually, I've started to cultivate a pretty cool community on TikTok. Like, what, you know, there are people now that there's enough people that follow me on TikTok where I'm sort of supported by good energy in my TikTok transmission. But at first I'd put out a post and I'd get like the craziest energy at me. And I was just like, what is happening here? And then I was like, oh, maybe it's because the Chinese made it and it's just going to be absurd and like crazy. Cause it's like, I don't know if you've ever been to China, but it's wild, man. Like, there's so many people everywhere and it's chaos. And I was like, wow, this actually feels like a Chinese creation. Makes sense. China, and that's not, I have no negative feelings about China, but China is wild.
It is wild. China's a wild place.
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
It's a different way of living.
Yeah, and TikTok feels like it. So, you know, it's neat. So anyway, man, yeah, if you feel called to reach out to me, reach out. I'm Max Trombly. I'm in the United States. I live in the South in the United States. There's not a lot of men's work guys down in the South. And so if you're down in the South and you're listening to this, link up, get on my email list. I'm going to be launching a couple things in the Appalachian Mountains, which is part of the South. It's down North Carolina. And then other than that, just do the work. Do the work. It'll change your life. That's my final message. Like, read a book about conscious masculinity. Read John Wineland's book, John Gray's book, Connor Beaton's book, Brian Reeves. There's a bunch of good books on consciousness and how to become a conscious man. Read the books and start to tune yourself to the possibility that there's a different way to live life.
Highly recommend all those books.
Yeah, those are all good guys.
Always
you gonna write
guys.
a book? You got a book coming out?
Not anytime soon, but I feel like it's in my destiny.
Yeah. You know what I discovered recently? You can hire a ghostwriter that basically you just get on Zoom meetings and you just speak it out and then they'll just put it in words. And I was like, that's how I can do it. Because I cannot sit and write. Like, I've worked on computers for 20 years. I'm done. I want to just be in the woods and communicate to the skies my book, and then the skies will publish it.
the sky on Zoom.
Yeah, the sky on Zoom. Yeah, exactly. This, like, the divine. That's what I'm going to tell my ghostwriter to be called. It'll be on Zoom with the divine, right? And I'll just be like, cool, I just had a meeting with the divine to transmit my book, and it was made.
Oh, the beautiful sentence in your book. Yeah, this book was transmitted to divine. You can find divine can also be your ghostwriter here.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually brilliant. I think I'm going to do this. Yes, I will hire you if you will change your name legally to the divine for the duration of our time working together, so that I can put this as co-written by the Lord Almighty. Yeah. That's fucking funny.
Oh,
right.
Dear Larry,
brother.
life.
It's been great, man.
All right, man. Well, listeners, if you've enjoyed the episode, go find Max, have a conversation, tell him what you've learned, because it's always beneficial to hear from people in that way. And until next week, I say ciao, ciao. I want to say a big thank you for listening. It's people like yourself that really help get the podcast out into the world. Especially if you're often sharing the episodes and the podcast with people that you feel just could do with listening, right? Can see a different way of being a man, maybe a different way of having dating lives and intimacy and relationships. So I want to say a big thank you. And if maybe after listening to this episode, you think, oh, there's someone actually who could really do with this, please share it with them. Share the love. I'm really, really grateful. And if, you want to get in contact with me for any questions, or you want to talk about coaching or any working together, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram @theauthenticman_, or you can email me hello@theauthenticman.net. Thank you very much.